Not many women are aware of this, but a man genuinely falls in love for only two reasons, and almost nobody notices when these factors come into play. It is not about physical appearance, it is not about effort, and it is not about the duration of time spent together. A man develops deep romantic feelings for reasons that run much deeper than these surface elements. In this presentation, you will finally grasp why certain men develop profound emotional connections, while others never move beyond initial attraction. What truly creates the distinction between these two outcomes? We will explore the quietest layers of the male subconscious and uncover the two hidden reasons that cause love to emerge effortlessly, even when he attempts to fight against it. There exists a silent mistake that passes through generations and causes more pain than outright rejection. Most women believe that a man develops romantic feelings through persistence, continuous effort, excessive presence, or the amount of time invested, as if love were simply an accumulation of successful attempts. However, this is not only incorrect, it is emotionally damaging because it makes you exert energy in places where genuine space for love to emerge never existed. Interest can be sparked, attachment can be built, but true passion cannot. It does not appear because someone executed everything perfectly. It emerges when something internal becomes triggered. Carl Jung suggested that what truly transforms an individual does not come from external forces pushing inward, but from the meeting between dormant internal content and an experience that awakens them. The central mistake lies in believing that male love originates from the external actions of a woman, when in reality it originates from an internal movement within the man himself. This is why so many women feel they did everything possible. They were intense, present, understanding, and yet he never crossed the emotional threshold. If you have ever experienced this exhaustion, write exhaustion in the comments. It is not because value was lacking, it is because love does not respond to merit, it responds to psychological activation. The philosopher Kierkegaard said that true choice is born from anxiety, not from comfort. A man only falls in love when something within him becomes displaced, questioned, disorganized. As long as he feels comfortable, in control, intact, there is no love, only convenience. The mistake is confusing attention with involvement. A man can be present, converse, desire, pursue without ever falling in love, because nothing within him has been touched at the right level. Love does not emerge when he feels too secure. It emerges when he feels confronted by something that surpasses him, and this cannot be forced. Another profound mistake is believing that love arises from neediness or insistence. This only generates dependency or habit. Jung stated that the unconscious rejects whatever attempts to dominate it. The more someone tries to make love happen, the more the male ego closes itself to preserve autonomy. True love begins when control fails, when something occurs despite conscious will. This is why so many stories begin with phrases like, "I was not looking for anything," or "It happened when I least expected it." This is not romanticization, this is psychology. Love is born where reason did not plan. It emerges when two internal factors align, and neither of them depends on direct feminine effort. This first mistake, believing that love is born from external action, creates anxiety, comparison, fear of not being enough. And all of this pushes the feeling even further away, because male love is not born from pressure, it is born from activation. And this is precisely why there are only two real reasons for which a man falls in love. Everything else is noise, illusion, or consequence. A man does not fall in love when he decides to. He falls in love when something within him is activated without asking for permission. This is the first real reason, and the most ignored one. Love does not begin in thought, it begins in the unconscious. Jung explained that the unconscious is the true center of profound choices, while consciousness only rationalizes afterward. When a man falls in love, he does not immediately understand what happened. He feels before he knows. This activation occurs when you touch something that already existed within him, but was dormant. It is not something you create, it is something you awaken. This is why it does not happen with just any woman, even though several may try. The unconscious does not respond to effort, it responds to internal recognition. When this recognition happens, the man begins to react differently, without being able to explain why. Freud already said that we do not choose whom we love by chance. Love arises when someone activates deep, emotional content formed long before the relationship ever existed. Old experiences, primary affections, wounds, and unconscious desires set into motion. The man does not perceive the mechanism, he only feels the impact, and when he feels it, behavior changes. This is the point at which emotional neutrality breaks. He begins to think without wanting to, remember without reason, react with unexpected intensity. The body responds before the mind. The unconscious has already chosen, even if consciousness still resists. Jung called this psychological constellation. When an archetype is activated, the entire emotional system reorganizes around it. This is why many men say, "I do not know what is happening to me." They truly do not know. The feeling arose outside of rational control. From this moment on, he may try to control himself, distance himself, or rationalize. But the bond has already been created at the deepest level. The unconscious does not easily reverse itself. This first reason has no relation to appearance, effort, or strategy. It happens when there is internal resonance, when something in you encounters something in him that was waiting to be awakened. And when this happens, love does not begin as a declaration. It begins as internal conflict. Without this activation, nothing advances. There may be interest, desire, companionship, but not true passion. With it, even if he tries to deny it, something has already been initiated. The unconscious has opened the door. Consciousness simply has not yet had the courage to enter. When a man's unconscious is activated, love does not announce itself with beautiful phrases. It appears as change, silent change, uncomfortable, sometimes confusing. Jung explained that what touches the unconscious first disorganizes behavior before gaining conscious form. This is why the most truthful signs are almost never the most obvious. The first invisible sign is the loss of automatic behavior. He no longer acts with you the same way he acts with other people. Small things affect him more than they should. His mood shifts, attention deepens, silence gains weight. It is not strategy, it is emotional impact. Something has ceased to be neutral on the inside. The second sign is excessive control. He begins to observe himself, measures words, avoids certain gestures, thinks too much before acting. This does not happen when there is no involvement. Those who do not feel act freely. Those who feel too much regulate themselves. Control emerges as an attempt to contain something that has already exceeded the comfortable limit. The third sign is silent constancy. Even confused, he remains. He does not truly disappear, does not break away, may oscillate but returns, may fall silent but observes. The unconscious, when it chooses, seeks continuity. His presence, even if contained, is a sign that something has already installed itself deeply. The fourth sign is disguised emotional reactivity. Small absences bother him, details gain importance. He reacts more than he would like, but tries to hide it. The body reveals what speech does not acknowledge. Jung said that the body is the first translator of the unconscious. The fifth sign is visible internal conflict. Approach followed by silence. Interest followed by withdrawal. If you perceive this conflict in him, write signal in the comments. It is not a game, it is an internal struggle between what he feels and what he can consciously sustain. Activated love creates tension before it creates clarity. These signs do not appear when there is only attraction or interest. They emerge when something has been touched at a level too deep to be ignored. And the more he tries to return to control, the more behavior reveals that control has already been lost on the inside. This is why the mistake is to wait for declarations. Unconscious love does not declare itself, it behaves. And when these signs appear together, it is not doubt, it is silent evidence that something real has begun. But this is still only the first reason, and without the second, the feeling never completes itself. It remains suspended, intense but unfinished. The second reason is what determines whether love will truly transform into commitment or dissolve into confusion. A man only falls in love completely when, beyond feeling something being activated, he also perceives that loving you will demand transformation from him. Not superficial change, but internal reorganization. Jung spoke of individuation as the psychological process through which someone becomes who they truly are. Love, when authentic, functions as a catalyst for this process. The man begins to feel that remaining the same version of himself is no longer possible. Something within him needs to evolve, mature, expand. And this terrifies and fascinates him simultaneously. The man begins to reflect more, to question himself, to observe himself. He feels that something within him needs to be reorganized. Love ceases to be merely emotion and becomes a path of individuation. It is not about you filling a lack. It is about you provoking growth. Without this second reason, the feeling does not mature. There may be desire, connection, even attachment, but there is no real surrender. With it, even if the man resists, something has already been initiated. Because when love demands transformation, it can no longer be ignored. It becomes an internal calling. This is why a man only truly falls in love when he feels two things simultaneously. Something has been awakened within him, and something in him needs to change because of that. When these two reasons meet, love ceases to be a comfortable choice and becomes psychological destiny. Imagine an ancient door, heavy, made of thick wood. It only opens when two different keys are turned at the same time on opposite sides. If only one of them turns, the door remains closed. What happens in most stories is exactly this. One key even turns, but the other never enters the right place. The first reason activates the feeling. The second demands transformation. Most men only experience the first. They feel, get involved up to a certain point, get confused, approach and distance themselves. But when they realize that loving will require changing their own internal structure, they retreat. Not because the feeling ended, but because the psychological cost seems too high. Jung said that human beings prefer the known to the true. Even if the known hurts, it offers security. To truly love is to cross unknown territory within oneself. It is abandoning old versions of the ego. It is losing certainties. It is accepting vulnerability. Few are willing to cross that bridge. The metaphor is simple. Many men even enter the river of feeling, but few accept to cross it all the way to the other bank. Because crossing means getting completely wet, means no longer having total control. If you agree with this view, write transformation in the comments. And while one part of him wants to continue, the other pulls back to the safe shore. For the woman, this is usually experienced as confusion. She feels that something exists, perceives signs, notices intensity, but nothing materializes. And the common mistake is thinking that value, beauty, or effort was lacking. It was not lacking. What was lacking was his internal willingness to change. These two reasons rarely happen together, because feeling is passive, but transforming oneself is active. The first happens without choice. The second requires courage. Many men stop exactly at this intermediate point, trapped between what they feel and what they can sustain. This is where the woman needs emotional clarity, not to give up on herself, but to stop trying to push someone through a door that only opens from within. Love that needs to be forced is not love that flourishes. It is love that resists. When the two reasons do not align, no matter how much feeling exists, the story remains suspended. When they align, the movement happens almost on its own. Because in that case, the man is not only feeling, he is willing to cross. Imagine trying to pull a flower out of the ground so it grows faster. The intention is good, but the effect is destructive. The root has not yet firmed itself. What needed time was subjected to urgency. The same happens in love. When the woman tries to accelerate a man's internal process, she does not bring closer. She breaks the invisible thread that was forming. Jung said that everything forced into consciousness before it matures returns as resistance. Pressure for definition, constant need for validation, questions that demand answers he does not yet have. All of this transforms feeling into defense. The man does not close himself because he does not feel. He closes himself because he feels too much and perceives there is no space to experience this safely. Another metaphor helps understanding. It is like speaking loudly inside a sacred place, not because the place rejects presence, but because excessive noise breaks the silence necessary for something profound to happen. Unconscious love needs silence to organize itself. When there is too much demand, the process interrupts. Now, the questions that truly matter. Are you trying to understand his feeling or control the outcome? Do you react to silence with anxiety or with stability? Do you try to provoke immediate clarity, or do you sustain the internal time that love requires? Are you offering a safe space or a constant proving ground? These questions are not accusation, they are a mirror. Many times love even began to be born, but was suffocated by the rush to define it. The feeling needs time to cross from depth to surface. And when the woman understands this, she stops pulling the flower and allows it to bloom. There exists a truth that changes everything when it is finally comprehended. True love does not happen when someone tries to convince the other to stay. It happens when two internal forces align without effort, when the unconscious is activated, and when transformation ceases to be avoided. Before that, everything is rehearsal. After that, everything is consequence. Imagine love as an eclipse. Two great masses move for a long time in different orbits, each following its course. Nothing seems special until the exact moment they align. And when that happens, there is no way to prevent the phenomenon. It is not force, it is precision. Real love emerges like this, not through insistence, but through internal alignment. The powerful revelation is this: a man does not choose to fall in love. He chooses to allow himself to transform. The feeling already exists before the decision. What is missing is the courage to cross. And when he crosses, it is not because someone pulled him. It is because he realized that staying on the other side of the river hurts more than crossing. Jung said that what we do not confront repeats itself as destiny. The man who flees from true love repeats shallow relationships. The man who accepts transformation breaks cycles. Inevitable love is not what traps. It is what liberates a more authentic version of who he is. For the woman, this changes everything, because she understands she does not need to push doors, prove value, or compete for space. When alignment happens, movement comes on its own. Silence becomes word, confusion becomes clarity, containment becomes choice. And now comes the most important part. The gold has not yet been delivered, because in the next content, you will understand how to recognize the exact moment when these two reasons are already active, and especially how to position yourself to not interrupt the process precisely when it is about to reveal itself. If you made it this far, it is because something has also moved within you. And the next step is not to do more. It is to know exactly when not to interfere. Understand a secret. A man truly falls in love at the exact moment he realizes that loving you will transform him. And even with fear, he decides not to run away. A man only falls in love when something is awakened within him, and at the same time, he accepts to change because of that. The rest is illusion. To experience this reality, write "real love" in the comments.